A few years ago, Admiral Hansen watched a freshman cadet pass four upperclassmen on the last hill of a 40-kilometer run at Danula 2. Guinan's relationship with Picard is beyond friendship, beyond family, and the Klingon Empire will never yield. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation. Here it is. Season 4, Episode 1, The Best of Both Worlds, Part 2, written again by Michael Piller, directed again by Cliff Bole. This was September 22nd, 1990. Where were you? We've got a very special guest again. It's Commander Shelby to you, everybody. Elizabeth Dennehy, thank you so much for coming back. Really appreciate it.
Admiral Shelby.
True. In Star Trek Picard, everybody. Admiral. How are you?
Yes, let's go back in time. Lieutenant Commander Shelby. Hi, how are you?
Awesome.
Oh, great. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us again.
Anytime.
Here's my first question, Elizabeth, and I've been dying to ask you this for only like 30 years. For the fans, in 1990, there was a 3-month break where we had to just sit there and wait and bite our fingernails and be like, I am not leaving the house when that next episode comes up, because otherwise I miss it. You miss the whole thing. That's what it was like from the fans' point of view. It was like frustration, but excitement. What was that 3 months like for you? Did you see any of the reaction? Were you aware? Was it just business as usual?
Oh, no, people were losing their minds, but we were too. Remember, we didn't have part 2. I went home to New York for the summer to see friends and stuff, and everywhere I went, people were asking me, and I was like, dude, I don't have the script. We didn't have the script until right before we started shooting. I had no idea what was going to happen. So we were also on tenterhooks. We had no idea how they were going to wrap the story up, where it was going to go, what was going to happen. We had no idea. So the other thing about those 3 months was I couldn't eat anything.
Oh.
It was a direct pickup. And have you ever worn a spandex jumpsuit onesie?
Cirroc?
Yes, I have, and it is not flattering. Yeah.
No, if I had a grape, it was going to show. I mean, I remember starving myself those 3 months. It was, just kind of a cruel thing to do to an actor, to say, go have fun, go be with your family. It's summer holiday, but you can't eat anything, and you certainly can't drink anything. So, yeah, no, that I remember that about that. It was just like a long 3 months.
Wow.
Now, was there potential for this character to be like added into the cast for that next season? Was there that option kind of up in the air about it? Or was it?
There was. It was never discussed with me. I have no idea. Nobody ever mentioned that to me. I mean, I think on the set, maybe they were talking, but it wasn't about decision making, but just random conversations that if Patrick Stewart decided he didn't want to stay, that Riker would, or Riker didn't want to stay, that there was potential for me to become the first. I guess it was all being talked about. I heard some rumor. I can't even remember. Remember, this is 30 years ago, and I'm a very old lady. I remember hearing somewhere that maybe it was negotiation, part of getting them to resign. I have no idea, though. Nobody talked about it with me. I wasn't in the room where it happens. I was just
I could totally see this character being somebody that they would say, oh, let's just go ahead and make this a regular on the show. It's not outside of the parameters for me to see that happen.
I would have loved that. I would have loved to have come on. I still would. But nobody talked about it with me, and you saw part 2, so I kind of, the way my character was wrapped up rather quickly. everybody signed back on. Everybody was happy to come back to their jobs, whatever those rumors were, you know. So yeah, but
You know, that's really interesting. It's an Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
no, I was going to say, other than conjecture, other than wondering, no, I never heard anything.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I would have loved to have heard whatever those rumors were, just to kind of follow those trains of thought. But it is true that this is how a lot of recurring characters, or even regular characters, get introduced mid-season. You know, mid-series. They get introduced as like, difficult. There's friction, or they don't get along with somebody, or they have their own way, and then the second episode they kind of start to come together, and then they coalesce, and it's a valued member of the crew or something like that. So yeah, I could totally see how this could have been an introductory set of episodes for a longer thing, but no go. Could you tell us? Did you when you heard these rumors? Did you hear anything at all about details, or just like people saying, "Well, you never know"?
No, it was just on the set. Remember, these people knew each other for years and years and years, the cast I'm talking about, and the writers and the directors. So they all had a shorthand with each other. I swan in, to do 8 days in June and 8 days in September. And, just a hired hand. Nobody clued me in terms of anything. It was just conjecture. But
Do you recall in the auditioning process reading opposite Jonathan Frakes at any point?
No, the first time I met him was in the makeup trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Cliff Bull? Was he involved in that early casting segment?
He must have been. I know that it was a big table. A lot of people were there. So, I mean, I was 28. I'm 63 now. So it was like, I remember there being a lot of people in the room. But I wish I could remember if they gave me notes, if I did it more than once. I honestly, I couldn't tell you, but I know I had a call back. And I wish I knew, like Cliff and I did, what do you call it? When the DVD, the Blu-ray came out, we did the commentary. And I can't even tell you, I don't think it came up. Like, what about my audition was where they said I was the one. And I maybe I was too afraid to ask, oh, they had somebody else. And then at the last second, they dropped out and we thought you would do, you never know. You never know these things. I comfort myself, you're an actor. We have no control over how we're perceived, only how we present ourselves. And if you ruminate and if you think about, like when I booked Horizon, the Kevin Costner movie, I'm so cynical and so jaded and been kicking around for so long. My first thought was like, oh, who asked for too much money? Because it's impossible for me to believe that I was the first choice. I'm just too cynical and jaded to believe that. So I was like, oh, I wonder who asked for too much money.
So you're just I must have been the second choice. We'll see. Sorry, Cirroc.
Yeah, no, I think you gave first choice performances in this episode. Yeah. Really, like a nice, like, standing up to Riker and actually making Riker step up and become a leader in his own way by challenging him in the ways that you did, kind of holding him accountable. That was something that we don't see that much, actually, at all. No one really holds Riker accountable to me, except for Picard to some degree. But even Picard's like, "Go ahead, fella, you could go on, go in that." A
little rascal.
He's like, "Go ahead, you little rascal, go ahead. I know what you want to do. Go ahead. I'll look the other way." But you're like, "No, I'm ambitious. I want this spot. I'm gonna hold you accountable." And I felt like for the first time there was an intellectual match for Riker that was not sexualized, because we keep seeing the female guest stars come on and become instantly sexualized by Riker's character, and it kind of takes away their identity and reduces it to something that's too playful. And in this case, I didn't sense that. I did sense the chemistry though, which is ironic.
Good.
But I did not sense the same way that he kind of fawns over women and tries to get in bed with them. That wasn't there. You kind of cut that off with the directness and with the combativeness, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that you saw the chemistry. We
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we had to plant the seeds for every possible eventuality. And, I think respect for a woman's intelligence and fearlessness, it's refreshing to see that as opposed to seeing her as an object, especially 30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that leads me in.
That's what I loved about it.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you about, Elizabeth, is that you did mention that last time you were here that you and Jonathan didn't know. Is the next episode going to be us, romantically involved in some way, or are we going to be at each other's throats? How is this going to end? We don't know. But then 3 months later, you finally saw the script. Do you remember how you felt when you read it? You saw there was no romance. You saw that you were coming together. Do you remember being a little disappointed that there are things missing? Do you remember thinking that you thought, okay, this is good enough? Or what did you think?
Well, I was sad that my story was abruptly just kind of like put out to sea, put out to pasture. Disappointed in that. But I also found out, I think you might have told me this, that Michael Piller wrote the first episode and then had to write the second one. And I don't know if it was being used as a negotiating tool. I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, a lot of the people are no longer with us, Michael and Cliff, but that they just wrapped it up pretty quickly. I thought it was a really great episode in terms of going on the Borg ship and getting Patrick back and all of that, and the relationship between Locutus and everybody on the ship was really cool. But for me, it was like, okay, you did your job, now you can go. So I had to wait 30 years for,
to get your promotion and get your shot. I actually felt like even if it was going to be a goodbye episode to you, I don't think they honored your contribution in these last two episodes enough in the goodbye scene. If that makes any sense. I felt like it should have been more of an offer to, hey, would you like an invitation to stay on board the Enterprise that you reject because it's limiting to your ambitions as a officer. I felt like that would have been the appropriate way to say goodbye to this character, where Riker, everything's back to normal. Picard's back on the ship. Everybody gets their ranking back assigned to them, and you are offered, a lieutenant commander position where you were just given this number one commission, and you want the taste of that again. You want to be a captain. So you're going to decline the offer extended to you to stay aboard the Enterprise and pursue those kinds of dreams. That to me would have been a better way to say goodbye to Commander Shelby.
I agree. But remember, you're watching it 30 years after it was being made. Like, what did the fans think when they saw it live? I don't know if they agree with you, because I think it was the first time they had a cliffhanger, the first time anybody questioned Riker's authority, the first time, I mean, it was so many firsts. And I think maybe the fans were, I mean, I'm telling you, I went to conventions and people hated Shelby, hated my guts, called me a bitch. There were some unsettling people yelling from across the, like, not even coming up to my table. I hated you. So maybe at the time on the day, it was like, okay, we put our toes in the water of a cliffhanger. We really rocked Riker's boat. Now it's time to go back to our regularly scheduled program. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like all of your best lines were in the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Such great juicy, memorable
except
lines.
amazing techno babble again, once again
Yes.
by you in this episode with working with LaForge in the engineering room, running through all of that techno babble. I was like, you're so good at it. We always compliment Jordy for how good he is at it, for LeVar Burton for how good he is at reciting the techno babble, but you right on par with it, coming back and forth. Seriously, I was admiring it. I wrote it down. Excellent techno babble, because
Is it
to me that's the most difficult part of the scripts.
is it part two where I say separate the saucer section, assign the skeleton? See, I can't even do it. Separate the saucer section, assign a skeleton crew to create a diversion. Was that part two? I can't
That
remember.
was the end of part one, I believe. It all
okay.
kind of bleeds. But there was another chunk, and I didn't write one word of it because I was like, I can't. Come on.
Yes.
I couldn't even write it.
Yes,
there was another
me
chunk
too.
in this episode that you were saying that I know what you're talking about, Cirroc. But
Yes.
clearly that one didn't give you as much problems as separate the saucer section, right?
No, there was a line. I thought they weren't interested in our human form, only our technology. But that wasn't hard. I'm trying to think. I mean, I wish I could remember. It's been so long since I watched it. But projections suggesting a Borg ship like this one could continue to function effectively, even if 78% of it were rendered inoperable. That destroyed my brain. That was the very first scene I shot, and I thought I was going to get fired. And then separate the. I can't remember another part.
That's so crazy.
Well, let me ask you this, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And you may have been asked this question before because Star Trek fans love to hear this kind of stuff. But the Next Generation crew is known for their shenanigans, for their goofiness. What was the sense you, I mean, what did you say? You worked 8 days for the first one, probably another 8 days for the second one. Were they professional? Were they goofy? Did you have a rapport? Did you have a favorite person on set?
Something that's important to remember is the last episode of a season, everybody is tired. They were tired and they were done and they were ready for a break. And then the first time, everybody's so happy to see each other again. They've had a restful summer, not eating anything, but still happy. It's a very, very different vibe. I know you know what I'm talking about. Like after 22 episodes, wearing those costumes, wearing the makeup. I mean, poor Michael Dorn. Oh my God. They were really tired, but I wish I could remember some funny things specifically. If I knew that I was going to be talking about it 30 years ago, I would have kept a journal of funny things. I had no idea. What I do remember is that Patrick is a little tricky trickster, and Patrick was in a very teasing way trying to fix me and Brent up. He thought me and Brent should go on holiday together. And he was always saying, Brent, why did you go and sit down next to Elizabeth? And consequently, Brent never spoke to me. I think very, very shy, and it was very humiliating, very embarrassing. So, and so look at how my life could have been different. I could have been Mrs. Brent Spiner. But he was trying to set us up. I remember that. It was really hard to keep a straight face with them, especially when the ship gets hit. When the first time, and they were like, "So is this a 4? Is it a 7? Is it an 11? What is it?" And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" And Jonathan said, "Well, if it's just like somebody sideswipes us, it's like this. If it's a 7, we're holding on. And if it's a 9, we're flung. And I said, you are kidding me. I thought they were joking. I couldn't believe that was the way they did it. And it was like being with little kids doing, playing Space Alien, like playing make-believe. I couldn't believe that was, you have all this technology of cameras flying through the air, and that's how you do a hit. So
sounds like it's got to be embarrassing on the day of, like, you're like, are we really? Okay, I'll do it if you do it, I guess.
It's literally little kids playing make-believe. Little kids playing make-believe, and I couldn't keep a straight face. I was like, I better not have my face facing the camera because I'm going to crack up. It was so funny. It was really, really funny. Those are the two things. Brent, him trying to fix me But I spent a lot more time with Jonathan than anybody else. So of course I bonded with him. We were always in his trailer talking about the scenes. Where could we plant seeds of, is she good or is she hero? Is she villain? All those little side eye looks, the little, I think there's a look. Oh, pardon me. I was told that you were interested in the job. All those little slides. It was all deliberate. They were all planted to keep you guessing and in case to cover every eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time talking to him about it.
That's crazy when they leave it up in the air on the cliffhanger like that, and you don't know which way it's going to go, if they're bringing you back or not. It's so much uncertainty at that point. And then I'm sure the fans, like you said, asking you during the summertime, like, what's going to happen? What's going on? And the anticipation building up for that as well. I have a question, though, you alluded to a little bit about bringing back, being brought back as Admiral Shelby, in Picard. And we did watch Picard, and I wanted to ask about just what was that phone call like? You think you're done all these years later, and
so I did. I do a lot of these interviews, so please forgive me if I'm repeating myself. I can't remember if I'm keeping the story straight, but this crazy thing happened. Did we talk about Picard at all? I don't think we did.
No.
30 years goes by. I get fan mail. On Cameo, and in November of 21, when things were still stay at home, wear masks. You can't go anywhere there without getting tested, and you've got to take email a photo of your negative test. I mean, really, really still clamped down. I got asked to do a Star Trek convention in London. I love London. I'll go there anytime, especially if you fly me first class. So my husband and I went to London, met John Billingsley. He was on the plane, and we rode 2 hours in the car, fully masked, to the hotel. And at the convention, every single day, we had to be tested at the convention, wear masks, like super duper protocols in place. And I cannot pronounce her name. The Borg Queen, Alice Kriege. Kriege. Okay. She was there. And we had a great time. She had worked with my father. My father and she had done a TV movie where he had to rape her. And she was like, he was such a gentleman about it, which is something you want to hear about your dad, that he was a gentleman about playing a rapist. We got along great. She was really lovely. And I said, I don't know a lot about Star Trek because I only watched the episodes I was in. And I'm sorry, but that's true. And I said, but I think fans would lose their mind if I tweeted a selfie of Shelby and the Borg Queen. So I did. And I also am really not fluent in, I'm so techno Amish and I'm not fluent in Twitter. But for me to get like 2,000 reshares and 2,000 likes, it was big. And I came home on a Monday. It was November 21. Came home on a Monday. The next day, my agent called and said, Picard is asking about your availability. And I was like,
the next day?
That's a powerful tweet.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I couldn't, after 30 years. So when I got on Picard, I asked Jonathan about it, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I think it was a total coincidence. But isn't that so weird?
Yeah.
Wow.
It sounds like they were just like in a writer's room meeting, and somebody's just like, I don't know. And they're like, hey, what about Elizabeth Dennehy?
I looked at my phone and I'm like, oh, that was powerful. Yeah. But I asked Jonathan about it, and he was like, no, I don't think. No, he said, Terry had you on a short list for a long time about dream people to bring back. And I was like, so that was just such a bizarre coincidence. So November 21, asked about my availability, and I shot in February of 22, and then it didn't air until April of 23. And I have, believe it or not, really, really good friends who are Star Trek fanatics and friends of mine. I don't know if you guys know Austin Tichenor. He runs the Reduce Shakespeare Company and the Reduce Shakespeare Company podcast. And he is such a star. And I remember we were in LA together, and it was like, I shot in February, and in May he was out here because his daughter was graduating from college. He lives in Chicago, and he's like, I can't believe they never brought. And I was like, in my brain, because I was not going to ruin the surprise for anybody, but I had to keep
14 months
from November of 2021 all the way till April of 23. Had to keep mum about that.
Was the delay because of COVID? Is that what took so long?
No,
or?
They shot 2 and 3 together at the same time. They shot season 2 and season 3 at the same time. They shot our scenes, I had to wait for season 2 to air, finish shooting season 2, to season 3 to finish shooting, and then season 2 to air, and then the summer break. It was ages. It was a really long time. Actually, it was so much time that I actually forgot about it. At the beginning, I was like dying to tell people, but then I actually forgot all about it. So much time went by, but it was, when I got the phone call, I was like, oh my God, I was really, really, really happy and delighted to be back. But then again, I read the script and I was like, lack of respect. Like they're like slanging me. They're talking all kinds of shit about me. I'm on the screen doing my speech and they're making wisecracks. And I'm like, I think I saved all your asses. Like a little bit of respect.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Put some respect on your name. Well, was Jonathan Frakes directing that episode, the Picard?
No, Terry directed it, and but Jonathan was there.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan was there. And I think I just did what I was told with the directing, and that the ambiguity about if I actually have been killed or not. I mean, that all happened in the editing, so that's remains to be seen.
Wow, that is so cool.
I was really, really happy to be brought back, and I was ecstatic because I got to fix a couple of things that always bugged me. Number one, the costumes now are not the super tight spandex jumpsuit that gives you a permanent wedgie, and you can eat. Right. It's 2 pieces. Like, hold on a second. A lot of noise. Can you hear that? Anyway, it's trucks going by. No. The outfits, the costumes, I went in for numerous fittings. So flattering, so comfortable. I was so happy that they got rid of the jumpsuits. They were so uncomfortable. And I feel bad complaining about that because compared to the Borg, who are encased in really smelly rubber and couldn't pee or go to the bathroom, I can't complain about the jumpsuits, but that made me very happy. But also, I detested my hairstyle on both worlds, detested my hair. And so the first thing I did when they brought me in for costume fitting was, please, dear God, give me an attractive, sleek, chic, cool, badass hairstyle. I got to get rid of that Jane from F Troop old lady hair. So they fixed. So I got to fix that, and I was really, really happy about that.
Well, we were also
the original hairstyle. Was that your idea? I mean, that was their idea. Then these episodes, Best of Both Worlds, that was their.
I hate to say this, but the woman who was doing the hair, I don't know what her name was. She was a very old lady. It was a very old-fashioned hairstyle. I have problematic hair. I have curly hair, naturally curly hair, and I think in like if I'm playing a lawyer or somebody who's supposed to be really sleek, they'll straighten it and put it up. And they did not know what to do with my hair. And so it was put up in some kind of chignon, but I had these like tendrils coming down here. It was like 1950s prom or 1950s bridesmaid. It was just, I didn't know what to do with it. And then for part 2, that woman was gone, and it was a new, cool, hip woman who had curly hair. She obviously knew how to style curly hair, but she said, It's a direct pickup. I'm sorry, I have to match it. We have to do exactly the same thing. So it was delightful to go back onto Picard and have somebody who just like I wanted something really, sharp and cool and badass. And that made me very happy.
Oh, what a bummer to come back and, a new, oh no, it's direct.
No.
We gotta, there's
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
It's not even like the next day. It's like it picks up right where it left off. So there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing I could do. The other thing I think was going on was Jonathan is so much taller than me. And I think they had this idea of getting my hair up higher. So it's like, it was a helmet and it was sprayed to death. I was 28 and it was just like such an old-fashioned old lady kind of hairstyle. Ugh, I hated it so much.
But Shelby rocked it.
Yeah.
Look, Elizabeth, we're just about out of time. But this has been so cool. We are unbelievably grateful that you took the time to hang out with us twice. And that's almost as many times as you've been on Star Trek so far. But I really hope, and I think all the fans really hope, that you'll get a call again sometime soon, because we love Shelby.
Yeah.
Actually, Elizabeth Shelby is the character's name. It's weird. I never made that connection.
No. Shelby never had a first name in Best of Both Worlds. And then I get the Picard script and I'm Elizabeth Shelby. And I was like, well, it's good. It's a good name.
Yeah.
It's a good name as any other. So yeah, no, they never gave me a first name in the first show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So they added that later. That's a little inside scoop.
Mm-hmm. Well, but seriously, Elizabeth, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And everybody at home, stick around. We got a lot more of this. We'll be covering it a lot more. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. How cool is this?